वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 13th chapter, verse number 51. The chapter is named Dhritarashtra Quits Home. Dhritarashtra saha bhratra Gandharya cha svabharyaya Dakshinena himavata Rishinam ashramam gataha Dhritarashtra saha bhratra Gandharya cha svabharyaya Dakshinena himavata Rishinam ashramam gata Dhritarashtra saha bhratra Gandharya cha svabharyaya Dakshinena himavata Rishinam ashramam gata Dhritarashtra saha bhratra Gandharya cha svabharyaya Dakshinena himavata Rishinam ashramam gataha Dhritarashtra saha bhratra Gandharya cha svabharyaya Dakshinena himavata Rishinam ashramam gataha. కొంచెం ముందే చేయండి. ధృతరాష్ట్ర సహా గాంధార్య చ స్వభార్యయా దక్షిణేన హిమవతా ऋषिरामाश्रमं गतः धृतराष्ट्र सह भ्रात्रा गान्धार्या च स्वभार्यया दक्षिणेन हिमवता ऋषीणामाश्रमां गतः. माताजी, धृतराष्ट्रः सह भार्या गान्धार्या च स्वभार्यया दक्षिणेन हिमवता ऋषीणामाश्रमं गतः. धृतराष्ट्रः सह भ्रात्रा गान्धार्या च स्वभार्यया दक्षिणेन हिमवता ऋषीणामाश्रमं गतः. धृतराष्ट्रः सह भ्रात्रा गान्धार्या च स्वभार्यया दक्षिणेन हिमवता ऋषीणामाश्रमं गतः. धृतराष्ट्रः सह भ्रात्रा गान्धार्या च स्वभार्यया दक्षिणेन हिमवता ऋषीणामाश्रमं गतः. धृतराष्ट्रः सह भ्रात्रा गान्धार्या च स्वभार्यया दक्षिणेन हिमवता ऋषीणामाश्रमं गतः. धृतराष्ट्रः सह भ्रात्रा गान्धार्या च स्वभार्यया दक्षिणेन हिमवता Rishinamashramam gataha. Dhritarashtra, Dhritarashtra, Saha, along with Bhratra, his brother Vidura, Gandharya, Gandhari also, Cha, and Saubharyaya, his own wife, Dakshinena, by the southern side, Himavata, of the Himalayan mountains, Rishinam, of the rishis, Ashramam, in shelter, Gataha, he has gone. Translation, please repeat the translation after me. O king, your uncle Dhritarashtra, his brother Vidura, and his wife Gandhari have gone to the southern side of the Himalayan mountains, where there are shelters of the great sages. Purport. To pacify the mourning Maharaja Yudhishthira, Narada first of all spoke from the philosophical point of view. Then he began to describe the future movements of his uncle, which he could see by his foreseeing powers, and thus began to describe as follows. Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalankaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manishtam Sthapitam Dena Bhutale Swarupadanam Tadati Swapadanti Kamante Shri Guru Shri Guru Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saragana Raghunatha Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savrutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saragana Ladita Shri Vishakhamritamsya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gauravodanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. O king, your uncle Dhritarashtra, his brother Vidura and his wife Gandhari have gone to the southern side of the Himalayan mountains, where there are shelter of the great sages. Hare Krishna. So this topic, this chapter is named Dhritarashtra Kids Home. Hare Krishna. So please come forward. Mataji's can come forward. Prabhu's much mundarandi. Hare Krishna. So Telugu translation is going on, and Paramananda will be the Telugu translation. Here the class will be in English. So Dhritarashtra, along with his brother Vidura, and his Sahabharyaya, along with his wife Gandhari, Dakshinena Himavata. So they went to the Himalayan mountains, so to perform austerities. So and Rishim Ashramam, where did they go? To the ashram of the rishis. So one has to take the association of the great sages, so who are all working for the ultimate goal of life. The ultimate goal of life is to attain the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when people are in general, so they are completely engrossed in their household duties, the family duties. We completely tend to forget that we have a goal of life which we have to achieve. So completely engrossed in the materialistic activities of life, we may completely tend to forget the spiritual duties which this human form of life is meant for. So therefore we need sages like Vidura who can time and again come and remind us of the purpose and goal of life. So that is the purpose of Vidura visiting Dhritarashtra. So we have again discussed in the few classes also that Vidura's only intention was to enlighten Dhritarashtra. He had no other purpose and goal. So Vidura had already taken the Vanaprastha ashrama and he was going on different places of pilgrimage. So because in Dwapara Yuga, the purpose, the perfection is attained by going to the places of pilgrimage. So similarly, Vidura also went to different places of pilgrimage. So he met Maitreya Muni. So he was enlightened by Maitreya Muni. Finally, he was reminded of his duty. So though it is a thankless task which Vidura had done, because all through his life Vidura had been instructing Dhritarashtra. So please understand the purpose and goal of life. So because Dhritarashtra wanted to make the life of his sons comfortable. So getting into deceit, cheatery, duplicity. So on time and again, Vidura was reminding whatever you are doing is not proper. So, but still, Dhritarashtra was not in a position to listen to him because of his attachment towards his sons. So, when the attachment becomes very, very strong, so towards one's own kith and kin, so then it becomes very, very difficult for the instructions to penetrate the heart. So, we have to keep the heart receptive. If we have to keep the heart receptive, so then only then the instructions can penetrate the heart of a person. So or else the instructions will become just superficial. You hear in one ear and leave it in the other. So this is what happens. So we have to develop a very strong attachment towards whom? Towards our own family. So we have to develop attachment towards this is Supreme God. So therefore, finally, where did they go? They went to the southern side of the Himalayas, which was the shelter of the great rishis and the sages. So only when we associate with such great sages, so the purpose and the goal of life is achieved. So or else the purpose and the goal of life is not achieved without taking the shelter of these great sages. Hare Krishna. So this is a very small purport. So I'll be reading the other two purports also today. So text number 52. Shotrabhi saptadirya vais swarduni saptada vayahat saptanam priyaratanana saptasrochasa prekshakhet. The place is called Saptarosa, divided by 7, because there the water of the sacred Ganges were divided into 7 branches. This was done for the satisfaction of the 7 great rishis. So there's no purport to this. Text number 53. So I'll be reading the translation and purport. On the banks of the Saptasrota, Dhritarashtra is now engaged in beginning Ashtanga Yoga by bathing 3 times daily, in the morning, noon and evening, by performing the Agnihotra sacrifice with fire and by drinking only water. This helps one control the mind and the senses and frees one completely from the thought of familial affection. The yoga system is a mechanical way to control the senses and the mind and divert them from matter to spirit. The preliminary process or the sitting posture, meditation, spiritual thoughts, manipulation of air passing within the body, and gradual situation in trance, tasting the absolute truth for absolute person, Paramatma. Such mechanical way of raising to the spiritual platform prescribes some regulative principles of taking bath daily 3 times, fasting as far as possible, sitting and concentrating the mind on the spiritual matters, and thus gradually becoming free from Vishaya or material objectives. Material existence means to be absorbed in material objectives, which is simply illusory. House, country, family, society, children, property, and business are some of the material coverings of the spirit, Atma. And the yoga system helps one to become free from all these illusory thoughts and gradually turn towards the absolute person, Paramatma. By material association and education, we learn simply to concentrate on flimsy things, but yoga is the process of forgetting them altogether. Modern so-called yogis and yoga systems manifest some magical feats, and ignorant persons are attracted by such false things.
or they accept the yoga system as a cheap healing process for the disease of the gross body. But factually, the yoga system is the process of learning to forget what we have acquired through the struggle of existence. Dhritarashtra was all along engaged in improving the family affairs by raising the standard of living of his sons, or by usurping the property of the Pandavas for the sake of his own sons. These are the common affairs for a man grossly materialistic and without knowledge of the spiritual force. He does not see how this can drag one from heaven to hell. By the grace of the younger brother Vidura, Dhritarashtra was enlightened and could see his grossly illusory engagements. And by such enlightenment, he was able to leave home for spiritual realization. Sri Narada Deva was just foretelling the way of spiritual progress in place which was sanctified by the flow of the celestial Ganges. Drinking water only without solid food is also a considerable fasting. This is necessary for advancement of spiritual knowledge. A foolish man wants to be a cheap yogi without observing the regulative principles. A man who has no control over the tongue at first can hardly become a yogi. Yogi and bogi are two opposite terms. The bogi or the merry man who eats and drinks cannot be a yogi, for a yogi is never allowed to eat and drink unrestrictedly. We may note with profit how Dhritarashtra began his yoga system by drinking water only and sitting calmly in a place. Hare Krishna. So here, Dhritarashtra is engaged in performing various austerities. So here he is performing the Ashtanga Yoga. What is this Ashtanga Yoga? So yeah, Ashtanga Yoga is a mechanical process of controlling the mind and the senses, so that the mind may be focused on, the mind may be diverted from matter to spirit. Okay, so this is called as the neti process, the negating process of rejecting the objects of this material world as illusory, so and temporary. So the yogis, they are engaged in this process of so keeping the diverting the mind from matter to spirit. So yesterday we had a Bhakti Raksha class there. We were discussing on the same topic. So as to what is this process of Ashtanga Yoga and what is the goal of Ashtanga Yoga. So the process of Ashtanga Yoga involves 8 steps. It is called as Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. So it begins with the mechanical process of following the sitting postures. So you sit in a particular posture. So then keeping your back erect and focusing on the tip of the nose. So and then focusing the mind on the Paramatma within the heart. So Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama. Then you perform Pranayama. So Pratyahara means you accept things which are favorable for the process and reject the things which are unfavorable for the process. Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana. Dhyana means meditating on the Paramatma within the heart. Dhyana, Samadhi. So nowadays it has become a fashion that you can meditate on anything and attain self-realization. So this is a bogus conception. So if the focus of the Ashtanga Yoga is not to focus on the Paramatma within the heart, so all the process of yoga system is just a bogus conception actually. So many a times people may feel that so dhyana means, so you perform dhyana just for the sake of attaining some peace of mind. So trying to keep ourselves away from some distractions, disturbances in life. So the whole purpose of dhyana is to focus on the Paramatma within the heart. So your పిల్లలు క్లాస్ తీసుకుంటారు. Rajeshwari తీసుకుంటారు. Hare Krishna. So the whole purpose of the yoga system is to focus on the Paramatma within the heart. If you are not able to focus on the Paramatma within the heart, So then the whole process becomes a futile exercise. It becomes a futile exercise. Many people may feel that this yoga process is meant for curing or healing some diseases of the body. So, or for concentrating the mind so that we become peaceful. But there is no purpose of focusing on the Paramatma within the heart. So it is just like the sun. If the sun's rays are focused on a paper, what happens? Through the medium of a lens. Through the medium of a lens, if you are trying to focus the rays of the sun, so the paper will start burning. So similarly, the concentration of the yogi should be on the Paramatma within the heart. So if you are able to focus on the Paramatma within the heart, so then it just acts like the lens, so which focuses the rays of the sun and burns the paper. So when the yogi is able to fully concentrate his mind on the Paramatma within the heart, so then both the gross body and the subtle body, they get burned. Just like you have a wood. So the fire is also within the wood. You understand this point? So there is wood here and there is also fire within the wood. So if you ignite the fire, ignite the wood, what happens? Then the wood also burns because the potential fire is already there in the wood. Similarly, if we are able to focus on the Paramatma within the heart, both the gross body and the subtle body is completely finished. So there is a shloka in the Bhagavad Gita which says that it is just like the wood which can be burnt into ashes. Similarly, the gross and the subtle body, which is a covering over the soul, can be burnt by the process of Ashtanga Yoga, where the yogi focuses his concentration completely on the Paramatma within the heart. So this is the process of Ashtanga Yoga. So ultimately, you give up the gross body, you give up the subtle body, and your soul becomes completely purified, and the soul establishes its connection with the Paramatma. So this is the actual process of Ashtanga Yoga. So it is not any other mechanical process. So here, similarly, Dhritarashtra is also performing all these different kinds of austerities so that he can focus on the Paramatma within the heart. So all through his life, what was Dhritarashtra doing? All through his life, Dhritarashtra was trying to help his sons to become more materially prosperous. He was trying to make plans. He was trying to hatch plans. So trying to usurp the kingdom of the Pandavas. So completely forgetting the goal of life. See, first and foremost, say we are also not different from what Dhritarashtra is doing. So we are also trying to make plans to make our lives prosperous. We think that making our lives materially comfortable will solve all the problems of life. So Dhritarashtra was also under the same impression that he would also make plans by which he can also be materially comfortably situated. So ultimately, we have to understand that the soul by nature is Sachidananda Vigraha. Sachidananda Vigraha means full of eternity, bliss and knowledge. So it is full of eternity, bliss and knowledge, and it cannot be happy with the things of this material world. No matter how much ever we try to satisfy the mind by giving matter, it can never be satisfied. It's just like a fish out of the water. So if the fish is out of the water, can you make the fish happy by keeping it out of water? So because that is not the natural position of the, which is not the natural position of the jiva. See, the natural position of the spirit soul is that it is happy only in the service of the Lord. It is happy in connection with the Supreme Lord. So if there is no connection with the Supreme Lord, then you can never be happy. Even in the material world, somebody has to be happy. Even in the material world. So they have to establish their connection with the Supreme Lord. Because Krishna gives us a program how to be happy in this material world and also have a program of going back to Krishna. You can be happy both internally you can be happy materially you can be happy and also achieve the purpose and goal of life. That is the whole program given by Krishna. That is the program of Varnashrama Dharma. So the whole process of Varnashrama Dharma is one performs his material duties meticulously. So with the goal of pleasing Krishna. The whole process is to please Krishna. So the whole purpose of Varnashrama Dharma is also to please Krishna. Varnashrama Acharava Purushena Parma Kumar Vishnu Radhadyate Panta Nanyata Purushaka. So the whole purpose of the Varnashrama Dharma is also to please Krishna. So if we are not able to please Krishna, then the whole system of Varnashrama Dharma is also a failure. So therefore, you can take up your material duties according to your inclination. Hare Krishna. So the whole purpose of the Varnashrama Dharma is to focus on the Varnashrama duties, take up your material duties according to your inclination. So there is no harm in taking up the material duties, but our focus should be on the devotional service. The focus should be on establishing our relationship with Krishna. So we have this, any spiritual practice should have these three purposes. You have the sadhaka, you have the sadhana, and the sadhya. So if there is no connection with sadhaka, sadhana, sadhya, so then it is just a futile exercise. So many a times, many people have this program. So yesterday, Divya Mataji was asking us this question. How come, Prabhu, there are many other spiritual organizations? So all these many different kinds of spiritual organizations, so they are attracting so many followers. Like we have the Ramachandra mission. So, and there are so many Sadguru mission which is going on now. There are many missions now, so which are attracting lot of followers. Why there is a great following? If you are saying that this is not a genuine process, so why there are so many other institutions which are attracting lot of people? So we have to understand, Hare Krishna. So we have to understand that Jiva is by nature spiritual. So, and in this material world, so now in this current day and age, we do not have the proper institution of Varnashrama Dharma. So where people are directed not only their mechanical material duties, but also the material duties ultimately aims at attaining the purpose and goal of life. So because of the lack of Varnashrama system, so many bogus institutions have come up. And because the Jiva is spiritual by nature, so and there is a natural inclination of the Jiva to become spiritual. So therefore, they look for a spiritual purpose. So therefore, all these different institutions are there. But all these different institutions are there. So just to give us a basic understanding of spiritual. They don't even, they give a touch of spiritual life, but they do not give these three purposes: sadhaka, sadhana, sadhya. So many people who are attracted to this mission also do not have these three purposes to achieve. So what is sadhana? Sadhana is the process by which we achieve the goal. So we have the sadhana, we have the sadhaka. Sadhaka is the person who is performing the sadhana. And there is also sadhya. Sadhya means the goal. So goal needs to be achieved. There is sadhana, sadhaka, sadhya. So many of these institutions do not have these three goals: sadhana, sadhaka, sadhya. So therefore, what happens? So all these followers, they have some material motive or material purpose to achieve in life. So they come with a material motive, they come with a material purpose. So to solve the temporary problems of life. So they have no other purpose and goal to achieve. So, and many of them are deprived or cheated into thinking that so attaining the impersonal Brahman is the ultimate goal of life. And even to attain that purpose, so one have to follow the genuine process, just like Dhritarashtra is following here. So Dhritarashtra has taken to the genuine process of following the Ashtanga Yoga. So the Ashtanga Yoga is meant at what? It's meant for what? Ashtanga Yoga. What is Ashtanga Yoga meant for? So ultimately to come to the stage of Paramatma realization and focus on the Paramatma within the heart. If somebody is performing Ashtanga Yoga, so they have to focus on the Paramatma within the heart. So now there are many institutions which are saying that you can focus on anything. You focus on even the void, but you will achieve the ultimate purpose. So that is not the purpose. So even in Patanjali Yoga Sutra also, Patanjali very clearly mentions that the purpose of the Ashtanga Yoga is to focus on the Paramatma within the heart. So if you are not focusing on the Paramatma, and the Paramatma feature is clearly described in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, what are the different features of the Paramatma? So what is the size of the Paramatma within the heart? So he is 9 inches of height. So what is he holding in the hand? The club, the disc, the Shankha Chakra Gada Padma. So all these things are there in the hands of the Paramatma, and a yogi is supposed to focus on the Paramatma within the heart. So therefore, the Jiva, as we were discussing, is spiritual by nature, and some spiritual spark shown by any institution, people get attracted. This is natural. So therefore, it is like trying to dissipate the darkness by the glow-worms at night. So many of you would have seen the glow-worms. So especially, it's very difficult to find in the cities, but when you go to the villages, you can actually find them. So you find the glow-worms, and the glow-worms, how much darkness they can dissipate actually. సో మిడికడ పురుగులు ఉంటుంది, అది రాత్రి పూట చాలా అందంగా కనబడుతుంది. ఇట్ కమ్స్ జస్ట్ ఫ్లాషెస్ అండ్ గో. సో అయితే డార్క్నెస్, కెన్ ఇట్ డిసిపేట్ ది డార్క్నెస్ ఆఫ్ నైట్? సో వాట్ షుడ్ బి దేర్ టు డిసిపేట్ ది డార్క్నెస్ ఆఫ్ నైట్? నౌ ది Rasa Purnima is also coming. So we need the light of the luminaries of the sky. So they are the sun and the moon. So the luminaries of the sky, especially the sun and the moon, they can dissipate the darkness of ignorance. So similarly, the Krishna consciousness process is compared to the sun. So that's where this process of Krishna consciousness is compared to the sun. So when the sun arises in the east, what happens? The darkness of ignorance is completely dissipated. So similarly, even for a beginner in Krishna consciousness, he can see the light of Krishna consciousness. Even in the beginning stages of Krishna consciousness, the darkness of ignorance is completely dissipated. So just like this process is compared to the especially in the winter seasons, we have the fog, right? So when there is fog, we cannot see things clearly. So what is the best way to dissipate the fog in the early morning? Is there any other mechanical process by which we can dissipate the fog? So all other coverings on the soul, they are all compared to this fog. So what can dissipate the fog? So fog in the early morning, only the sun. The sun has to go up and the fog has to melt. So when the sun goes up, the fog melts down. So similarly, when there is the rise of the sun of Krishna consciousness in the heart of the Jiva, even in the initial stages of Krishna consciousness, you can see that the darkness is dissipated. So similarly, any other process apart from the process of devotional service, they are all considered. So they are all considered just like the what we call the flash of the beetles. So which cannot dissipate the darkness of the night. So only when there is the rising of the Krishna consciousness in the heart of the Jiva can this fog be completely dissipated. Understood? So then people may consider, should we take the, then many a times people may argue, Vedas actually recommend the process of Ashtanga Yoga, they recommend the process of Jnana Yoga. So these are the beginning stages. So the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita also deals with this. The first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita starts with what? First 6 chapters. It starts with the Karma Yoga. Then it comes to then we come to the path of Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga. So then, why we are not taking the process of Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and finally coming to the stage of devotional service? Why this is not happening? Why we directly take to the path of devotional service? Hare Krishna. So Divya Mataji is giving the right answer. So because Arjuna himself rejected this process. So did Arjuna accept this process? Arjuna himself rejected this process. He said that this process is not possible in the age of Kali Yuga. So especially concentrating the mind. So by different mechanical processes. So especially in the process of Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga, a person has to first take sannyas. So how many of us are willing to take sannyas and go to the forest, just like Dhritarashtra is doing here? So in the age of Kali Yuga, is it possible to give up family life, give up your responsibilities and take to the path of sannyasa? So and then you perform the Ashtanga Yoga, then you practice pranayama, then you practice yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara. So who is there to teach us all this and ultimately the purpose and goal of life? So and ultimately, even though somebody may become successful in the process of Dhyana Yoga, somebody may become successful in the path of Dhyana Yoga. So still, it is just a partial realization of the absolute truth. It is not complete realization of the absolute truth. So it is because the jiva has got the inclination, the jiva has got the tendency, the rebellious attitude of the jiva is still there in this, in completely accepting the Supreme Lord and in completely accepting our position as the servitors of the Supreme Lord. So the process of jnana and dhyana. So though it may be successful, but it is just a partial realization of the absolute truth. And only the process of Krishna consciousness is the complete process by which one can realize his constitutional position. Jivera Swarupo Hoy, Krishnera Yadas. So here, Dhritarashtra is also following the path of Ashtanga Yoga. So then there is, in the process of Ashtanga Yoga also, there is also the concentration on the movements of the air within the body. So this is called as the Shat Chakra Kriya. So you invoke the different chakras within the body. So starting from the point of the Nabi, you go upwards. So this is also a process which has to be done only under an expert guidance. If people don't take expert guidance in following the Shat Chakra Kriya, people will go mad. If there is an imbalance of the air within the body, people will become mad if they don't follow this process under an expert guidance. So therefore, even if you follow a bona fide process, but still if you are not able to focus and if you are not under doing it under a proper guidance, then you will not achieve the purpose and goal of life. So therefore, what is the process recommended for the age of Kali Yuga? So is this are all these things practical in the age of Kali Yuga? With the kind of lifestyle we have, with the kind of mindsets we have, with the kind of upbringing we have. So is this all possible in the age of Kali Yuga? Is the question. Or what is more practical and in the age of Kali Yuga for us to follow? What is the most practical way of doing? What is the most practical way of self-realization and God realization? Chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So how many of you agree with this process? Chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Krishna. So how many of us are able to fully concentrate while chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra? How many of us are able to avoid the offenses while chanting the Hare? So even this process is many people may say that Prabhuji, I cannot chant loudly. I'll be chanting within my mind. So many people say I'll be chanting all the time. You go and talk to people in general. So they say that we chant all the time. What is the need for chanting on beats? Okay. So, and what is the need for chanting loudly? So, because Shastras also recommend that we chant softly. So, what is the actual recommended process for chanting? Should we chant softly, or should we murmur and chant, or should we chant loudly?
We have to hear what we are chanting.
Yeah.
That is the problem.
So, the processes, all the three processes are authorized. You can also chant in the mind. You can also chant on, you can do a murmur chanting and also chant on speech. So all the three processes are bona fide, and this was proven by our Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur. He was chanting 8 hours on beats loudly. 8 hours he used to do murmuring chanting, and 8 hours he used to chant in the mind. So all the three processes are bona fide. But what is recommended for us? So because we don't chant like Haridas Thakur, we are not chanting 64, we are not chanting 192 rounds a day. Like Haridas Thakur, we are not able to remember Krishna, we are not able to do even 16 rounds. Even if we chant 64 rounds, the 64 rounds also is also, even if we chant 64 rounds, Haridas Thakur will be chanting 3 times more than us. If we are chanting 16 times a day, so Haridas Thakur will be chanting 12 times more than us. So we cannot compare. So therefore, the Acharyas have given us the process of chanting loudly. And chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra loudly will give 100 times more benefit than chanting softly. Because there are so many living entities around who cannot chant. So there may be flies, mosquitoes, so many other living entities. So only difference is that they have a different body, we have a different body. So only in this human form of life, we are in a position to chant loudly. So when we are in a position to chant loudly, we have to chant. So that all the other living entities also around us, they also get benefited by the chanting of the body. So this is also Jiva Daya. So one has to follow this process of Jiva Daya, take to the process of loudly chanting the holy names, and it is recommended you chant on beats. Okay. So this is what the Acharyas are saying. Sankhya Purvak Nama Ganatatibi Kala Vasani Kritau Nidrahara Viharaka Divijitau Chatyatadinau Chayo Vande Rupa Sanatanau Raghuyugau Vijiva Gopalakau. So this system is given by whom? The six Goswamis. So they are saying that Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gananati. So you have to systematically chant on the beats. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a Vijamala in his hand. So he was also chanting on beats. So don't get into the habit of chanting on clicker, chanting on any other. So we'll many a time nowadays there are many other devices. We have an electronic devices. We have clickers to chant. But those devices can be used only in case of an emergency and not otherwise. So your sadhana will not be complete without chanting on beats. Yeah. So he's also holding a japamala. He is counting it on the other feet. So suppose we don't have beats, or suppose we forgot beats. So how to chant? This is a way of chanting. So here you can count on the fingers. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So on every finger you can count. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So 12 times. 3 4s are 12 and 9. 12 into 9, 108. So once you complete 12, you can skip to the next. So similarly, even if you don't have beat, sometimes you forget, you can do this. So this is the recommended and the authorized process for the age of Kaliyuga. So you have to make the sun of Krishna consciousness arise in the heart. So by the process of for the authorized process of living and doing the proper sadhana. Okay. Hare Krishna. So anybody has any doubts? Yes. So what is the significance of this name, of this number 108? So 108 is considered very, very auspicious. So there are 108 Upanishads. So the 108 principal gopis of Krishna. So actually when we are chanting on the beads, actually it's said that we are touching the lotus feet of the gopis. So when we are chanting the holy names of the Lord, we are requesting them to bless us so that we can chant the holy names. So 108 Upanishads are there, 108 principal this thing, gopis of Krishna are there. So this 108 is a very significant number, even scripture. So therefore, this number is recommended. 108. Anybody else? And today is also Bhishma Panchaka, so we'll be touching this topic on Bhishma Panchaka. Before we go ahead, do we have any questions connected to this topic? So sadhana, sadhaka and sadhya. See, any authorized spiritual process should have these three goals. So one is the sadhana, one is the sadhaka, one is the sadhya. So sadhana is the process by which we attain the goal. Sadhaka is the person, is the performer who is doing the sadhana. And sadhya is the goal. One has to attain the goal also. So even in the path of Jnana Yoga, even in the path of Ashtanga Yoga also, they have a goal. So they have the goal of attaining the impersonal Brahman. They have the goal of attaining the impersonal Brahman. Even the Paramatma realized yogi. So he may worship the Paramatma and go to the Paramatma Loka. Or he can come back and take to the path of impersonal Brahman realization and go to the Brahmajot. They have a goal. So, and even in devotional service also, we also have a goal. What is the goal? What is the goal for us? We should go to the abode of Krishna. So Krishna is inviting all of us. So the whole process of devotional service is that Krishna is inviting all of us to come back home, back to Godhead. So there is a famous Acharya called Purandaradasa. He writes a very famous composition. Illi allide nammane illiruvudu sumane. What is the meaning of that? Our real house is there in the spiritual world. And Krishna is also saying the same. Yadgatva na nivartante taddama paramam. So we have to go reach that Paramapada. So this is called as Paramapada. Paramapada means we have to attain that ultimate goal of life. So all of us have a family here. So we have family, we have husband, wife, children, relatives, parents. We all have family. So Srila Prabhupada very interestingly says that. So don't think that you have to give up your family here and there won't be. Once you go back to Godhead, there is no more family there. So there is also family in the spiritual world. So the Vaikuntha Vasis, they also have families. So but only thing is that, so even though you have families, so the attraction for Krishna is so overwhelming that this attraction becomes the attraction for family life becomes very insignificant. It is not that there are no families in the spiritual world. There are families in the spiritual world, but the attraction for Krishna or Vishnu is so overwhelming that the attraction for the family, so-called family, becomes insignificant. Paramdeshwa Nivartati. So we have to attain that Paramdeshwa. So even in this very life also, one can attain that Paramdeshwa stage. So the ultimate purpose and goal of life by developing attraction for Krishna. So by developing attraction for his holy name, by developing attachment for his holy name. So we get distracted and bewildered in this material world by various distractions of this material world. So in terms of family life, so that doesn't mean that we should not have a family life. The family life is there, and it is also one of the ashramas. So where the whole family together as a unit can advance on the path of spiritual. So we should know what is the purpose of having a family. So the purpose of having a family is to advance together on the path of Krishna. So though there is a program given by Krishna, so there is scope for sense gratification. So in family life, but that is not the goal of family life. So the goal of family life is not focused on sense gratification. Sense gratification is spiritualized in Krishna consciousness. So sense gratification is allowed, but under the framework of Krishna consciousness. So you have a framework also. Even the grihasthas, they have a framework. It is not an unlimited license for sense gratification, but they have to utilize the framework to serve together to progress on the path of Krishna consciousness. So, but in every ashrama there are restrictions. It is not that it is a license. Every ashrama there are restrictions so that the mind, the intelligence, they are focused on the goal. So therefore, here Dhritarashtra is having a plan. So he is making a plan for his sons. He is making a plan for his sons to progress on the path of material life. So, but he does not completely blind to the spiritual purpose of life. So all of us do have all these different kinds of engagements in terms of the engagements in terms of these worldly affairs are concerned. But this is not our goal. We have to understand. So we are making these arrangements so that life can go on smoothly. The life can go on unhindered, meeting the basic necessities of life and not over accumulating things. So which way we are anyway going to give up here. So the goal is not to accumulate more than necessary, which we are anyway going to give up here, but instead accumulate those assets which you are able to carry from. So first understand what is that goal which we are supposed to accumulate and achieve, so that we can carry those assets. So those are the assets of spiritual life. So which you can actually carry. So, but all other assets, whatever you are accumulating here in this world, you have to leave it behind. So therefore, if we are not focused on the real goal of life, so the illusion, Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains, advancement of material civilization leads to illusory life. So leading a life of illusion. So where people are completely illusioned, bewildered about the purpose and goal of life. People are into accumulating. They do atyahara, prayasa, prajalpa, yamagraha, janasanga, laulyam. All these things will happen in, where will it happen? In material life. So which will ultimately distract the person from the goal of life. Okay. Therefore, when you come to sadhu sangha, a person is enlightened. A person is enlightened towards the purpose and goal of life. He is enlightened towards the real assets of life. What are the real assets of life? So bhakti. Bhakti is the real asset which we can actually carry. Okay. So yadgatva na nivartante tadamapa. So this is the currency which we need to go back to Godhead. So we have to accumulate the assets of spiritual life By this currency, we can go back. So we all need currency. Even if you want to travel from one place to another, even if you want to go to America, even if you want to go to Las Vegas, Los Angeles, many places within this world, Simla, Darjeeling, wherever you want to go, you need to have the currency. So without this currency, you cannot move anywhere. But this is material currency. So, but when we utilize this currency for propagating Krishna consciousness, for the purpose of Krishna consciousness, the same currency becomes Chintamani. So the devotees, what they do, Srila Prabhupada has given us a program by which we can transform the currency notes into Chintamani notes, which are the currency for going back to Godhead. So we have to understand this art of transforming material assets into spiritual assets. Okay. So the most important spiritual asset, what is that most important asset we have now? Huh? Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So Golokera Premadana, Harinama Sankirtan. And most important, we have one more important thing in this. Association of devotees, devotional service. Then we have one more important. Shri Guru, Charter of Guru, 4 regulative principles, scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. We have the most important asset, time. So time is a very essential factor of it. So if you don't utilize your time properly, material nature is not going to forgive. So Krishna may forgive, but material nature will not forgive. So therefore, make the best use of time, whatever we have. So we may keep giving excuses, to come to the path of spirituality, to take up spirituality seriously. So we may have hundreds of genuine reasons. I'm saying genuine reasons we may have. So to neglect spiritual life. And all these reasons may be bona fide also. So all these bona fide reasons will not help you at the time of death. So what helps you at the time of death is only our service to Guru and Krishna. Okay? So this is a real asset we have to accumulate. So now when you are young, so we have to utilize this time, whatever we have, whatever energy Krishna has given us. So make the best use of this time factor, whatever is available with us. So transform this into spiritual assets. Okay. So that these assets you can carry. So or else you cannot carry any other asset in life. Here Dhritarashtra wasted all his life. And at the fag end of his life, only by the mercy of a pure devotee like Venudari, he could take the advantage of the last fag end of his life. So we don't know how many of us get this opportunity. But we are all blessed actually to be in the movement of Lord Chaitanya, to be in the movement of ISKCON, in the association of Acharyas like Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur. We are all fortunate and blessed, so that we can make the best use of the time. So and accumulate this spiritual assets, transform our lives, and go back to Krishna. Is that true or not? So no genuine excuses. We can keep giving genuine excuses. So for not coming to association, not taking advantage of association. So who is the ultimate loser? So who is the loser? So we are the losers actually. So if we don't come to association of devotees, so the 5 potent forms of devotional service, especially the hearing the holy name, reading scriptures, Vaishnava Seva, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, so deity worship. So all these 5 aspects will not get a motivation or an inspiration to do these 5 potent activities. So which can liberate a conditioned soul from this material world. Okay. So the nourishment for all these 5 potent activities. So comes from the association of devotees. Okay. So suppose in the good old days, say maybe few years back, if we had wells, we do not have the mechanized borings just like today. People had wells. Sometimes something would drop into the well, and what was the process by which they would take the take the the for the take the thing which has dropped into the well, like the pot, or you may have lost a bucket into the well. So how was it actually taken out? Now, there was an anchor with five protrudings, right? Called Patalagunsu. In Telugu it is called Patalagunsu. How many of you know this? So when you put this into the well and when you rotate it, what happens? The last thing gets hooked onto the anchor, and when you pull it out, it comes out. So these five potent forms of devotional service are like this, the anchor with five protrudings. So to pick up the fallen jiva, which is fallen into this well of material existence. Understood? The jiva has fallen into the well of material existence. And to pull that jiva out, these five potent forms of devotional service are put inside so that he can hold on to any of this and come out. Okay. So this is the way one can get out of this material existence. Griha Anda Kupam. Anda Kupam means well. It's a dark, deep well. So anybody who is engrossed in this family life, not attaining the goal of, not looking towards the purpose and goal of life, they are compared to Griha Anda Kupam. They have fallen into the well of material existence. Suppose when somebody is traveling in the forest, sometimes there are deep, dark wells, and somebody falls into a well, then there is no question of coming out, because nobody is there to save you also. But these five potent forms of devotional service are so potent that it can pull out the jiva from the griha and the kupam to the path of spiritual life. And holding on to the path of spiritual life, one can easily make his journey back home, back to God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So many people may say, so why to take at such an young age? Why to take Krishna consciousness at a very young age? Still, there is a lot of time left for us. Is there a lot of time left for us? How many days did Parikshit Maharaj have? How many days we have? How many days we have? Is there any guarantee? So how many days Katwanga Maharaj had? Katwanga Maharaj. One muhurta. So 48 minutes. So but they utilized this muhurta and they achieved the purpose and goal of life. Parikshit Maharaj achieved the purpose and goal of life. He went back to Godhead. Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha Manmana Mam Upashitaha Bhavo Jnana Tapasa Putamad Bhavam Agataha. So many people in the past, so they all took to this path of Krishna consciousness and they attained love for Krishna. So 4.10, fourth chapter, 10th verse of Bhagavad Gita. So we all can take to the path and go back to Krishna. So this is a time-tested process. It is not some invented process. Like so many inventions are going on in and around. So that people are creating many new processes of self-realization, which are all genuine or bogus. So which is just the jiva can get hooked onto this and will lose the purpose of it. Okay, like diving into the dark deep well. Okay, let us make the best use of a bad bargain what Krishna has given us. Prahlad Maharaj is saying, Kaumaram acharate pragno dharma bhagavataniha durlabha manusha janme tadapi adroma. You have to begin this process of Krishna consciousness at the age of 5. So what is the age to begin Krishna consciousness? 5 years old. How old are we? Kaumaram Acharat Pragno Dharmam Bhagavatam. To begin at the age of 5. So even at 50, people are saying still there is time left for a stranger. That is the time to retire from family life. So, but anyway, the acharyas have very nicely molded this process of Krishna consciousness, no matter wherever we are. Even grihasthas, we have a very good opportunity. We all stand a very good opportunity by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada. So even if somebody is a family man, along with his family, he can practice Krishna consciousness. And if the whole family, if they can do these 4 things, grihasthas, if they can do these 4 things. One is the family together, they should chant Hare Krishna. They should read Srimad Bhagavatam, perform deity worship, and do kirtan at home. If they do these 4 activities, no need of taking sannyas also. So they can attain the path of self-realization at home. So this is the mercy of the acharyas. They have molded the whole process in such a way that even staying at home, one can become self-realized and God-realized. Hare Krishna. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Anybody has any questions? Any questions? So the Bhishma Panchaka has already begun. Devotees who are fasting for Bhishma Panchaka can continue. So, and Bhishma Deva was a very staunch devotee of the Lord, very determined devotee. Bhishma means determined. So what is difficult in Krishna consciousness? Krishna consciousness is not difficult, but the determination is difficult. Prabhupada writes, Krishna consciousness is not difficult, but the determination is. So we have to be determined. So a rigid practitioner is guaranteed success. Prabhupada writes, a rigid practitioner of Krishna consciousness is guaranteed success in spirituality. So similarly, because Bhishma Deva was such a rigid practitioner of Krishna consciousness, we have to pray for his mercy, we have to pray for his blessings. So the Bhishma Panchaka is the last 5 days of the month of Kartik. So where the devotees who have followed Chaturmasya, so they take up different vows. So and different kinds of fastings are there. So it's a little bit of an austerity tapasya. So ultimately the whole tapasya is to take our consciousness and mind away from body from matter to spirit. So from matter to spirit, we are supposed to move from matter to spirit. And especially, so we also get the mercy of Bhishma Deva and all the previous acharyas. By following this process, what happens? We'll develop the determination, just like Bhishma Deva developed determination in Krishna consciousness. So it is said that Bhishma Deva, even in the midst of so many women in the palace of Hastinapur, he was the least disturbed person. He was the least disturbed. He was a Dhira. So therefore, if one has to develop such unwavering focus in spiritual life, so one has to follow this Bhishma Panchaka. All these processes will help us. So it is not like the mechanical process of Ashtanga Yoga. So we cannot practice that in this age, but at least some level of austerities we can take up and follow if your body permits. So if your body permits, that's another with quotes. So if your body permits, you can follow. So some 10 devotees are following. So they are following the level 2. So fasting from grains. So they follow the Ekadashi, and Ekadashi also a little more austere. No milk products during this 5 days. Okay, so no milk products, only roots and fruits. Hare Krishna. So this is about Bhishma Panchaka. So let us all perform prayer in the lotus feet of Bhishmadev, so that we can also serve the Lord with the determination with what Bhishmadev had. So and make the best use of a bad bargain. So regularly come to the association, take the advantage of association. So and be determined. See how determination develops by coming to the association of devotees, associating with the devotees who are determined to practice. So we have to associate with devotees which devotees? With devotees who are determined to practice. Okay, Hare Krishna. Anybody else? Any questions? Yes, Padre. Yeah. 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 Humiliated. Yeah. So we see many a times that Karna. So Karna is humiliated. So he may appear like he is a very charitable person. So he is he appears like a moralist. So many a times. So many people, and usually, especially the modern writers, they have a very soft corner towards Karna. So, but we have to understand this from the Shastri point of view. Why Karna had a position like that? So why was he cursed? So actually, Karna, we cannot see actually when things are have to be seen. They cannot be seen from one life perspective. So even the problems of the life also. So when a person is facing difficulties in life, the life cannot be taken from one life perspective, because this life is not our life. Our current life is not the beginning of our life. So we have been in this material world since time immemorial. Krishna knows since how long. This is called as Anadi Karma Phala. So similarly, Karna was also had a previous life. So Karna in his previous life was an Asura. His name was Dambavana. So he was a Suryopasaka. Suryopasaka was a worshipper of Surya Deva. So many a times the worshippers of the demigods, so many worshippers of the so-called godmen, so godmen, Babas, so all these people, they have their own program. They have their own selfish program. So similarly, Karna also had his own agenda. He had his own program doing the Suryopasana. So he pleased at Surya Dev and he got a blessing from Surya Dev. So what was the blessing? He got
1,000 times, even if he dies.
yeah. So he 100 kavachas he had. So he had 100 kavacha. So kavacha and karna kundala and also the kavachas, 100 kavachas. So no person in the world was capable of defeating him. And he was such a powerful warrior also. So,
Whoever he will die.
and whoever, he also had a boon that whoever tries to kill Karna, suppose anybody who is able to penetrate his armor, one armor at a time, if he penetrates that armor, that person will die. And who can penetrate armor? A person who has performed austerity for 1,000 years. Has performed brahmacharya for 1,000 years. So then again to break another armor, so my person has to perform tapasya for 1,000 years. Okay, this was the boon which Karna had taken. and he was invincible in one sense. So therefore, the personality of Godhead as Naranarayana Rishi. So they appeared in this world. So they performed the austerities. So when Nara was performing austerities, so Narayana would be in slumber. So when Narayana was in slumber, Nara was performing the austerities for 1,000 years. And they would fight with him and break one of his armor. Okay. So this is how they broke his armor 99 times. So only one armor was left. So and he became very afraid and he went and took the shelter of Surya Deva. That is how Surya Deva, so he made Karna appear in the womb of Sati Devi. So he was an Asura. So though sometimes it may appear that the people may be very charitably disposed. So, but many a times we see that they have their own agenda, they have their own program. So, and similarly, Karna had his own program. So he was an Asura in his previous life. And even so, when Karna, when we talk about the friendship between Duryodhana and Karna also, we see that when the war was about to begin, so they all could have fought together, Karna along with Bhishma, so they could have all fought together. But Bhishma and Karna, they were not getting along. So he made a vow. Karna made a vow that until Bhishma is there on the battlefield, I will not enter the battlefield. So everybody is in has their own agenda and own program on the Kaurava side. So similarly, then because Karna, when the Pandavas were in exile, so Karna went on to wage war with so many other neighboring kingdoms because they wanted to expand the kingdom. As a result of which, they developed enmity with so many people. So they all became enemies and they went to the side of Pandavas. That is how they were able to procure seven akshonis of the phalanxes, 7 phalanxes of the army. This is how we have to see the life not only from this life's perspective, but we have to see life from many lives perspectives so that we can understand how the principle of karma works. So because of his sinful past, he had to undergo so much humiliation all his life. Krishna. Yeah. Arjuna is Nara. Narayana is Krishna. So even what Brahma is saying that what fortune did this Gobalakas, the cowherd boys do to accumulate so much pious credit that they are associating with Krishna. So that's the reason all these different devotional activities, whatever we are doing now, they're all different. They give us pious credits. But this pious merit is not like accumulating punya by performing the injunctions mentioned in the scriptures, by the Vedas. So this piety is spiritual piety. So by doing Bhishma Panchaka, for the pleasure of the Lord, by chanting, by performing this 9 different processes of devotional service, so one accumulates pious merit. So this piety is different from the pious merit what we accumulate by performing punya. Punya is different. Punya is a material piety, and Sukruta is the spiritual piety. So one has to accumulate spiritual piety to associate with the Lord. So therefore, this devotional service will award you spiritual piety. It does not award you material piety. So therefore, even the associates of Lord Krishna, so they all were great devotees of the Lord. They had performed so many pious activities. So to come to the stage of associating with Krishna in different kinds of rasa, in Sakya, Dasya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. So unless one comes to that level of maturity and accumulating spiritual credit, so one will not be given audience with the Lord. So here Arjuna was naturally a pure devotee. So he had performed so much devotional tapasya. So, and he was naturally given the audience to the Lord. Okay. So difference should be understood. What is material piety? What is spiritual piety? So by performing devotional services, once material piety will also be destroyed. When you tell this to people, people will be afraid. Whatever punya you have accumulated will be destroyed by the process of punya. How many of us want to come? Because what will material piety do to you is that even if you have accumulated material piety, you have to take birth again in this material world to enjoy that material thing. But so this enjoyment is not unconditional. It is conditional because you are conditioned by birth, death, old age and disease, which is again a suffering only. So there's no happiness here. Accumulating material piety is just a burden on the back. You are accumulating, you are shackled. Whether you are shackled by a golden chain or whether you are shackled by an iron chain, you are chained. So what is the use of this material piety? Instead, accumulate this spiritual piety, take to the process of devotion service, take to the path of Navaida Bhakti, and you are all benefited. What do we want? Bhakti, spiritual piety or material piety? Actually, we were giving class and one Mataji was really afraid. No, Prabhu, we don't want to lose material piety. Hare Krishna. So we have to be intelligent. This is Buddhi Yogam. So one has to be intelligent. So only people who are intelligent can take to the path of devotion. Dadami Buddhi Yoga. And this is knowledge, is intelligence will be given by Krishna. Hare Krishna, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we have a few more days of Kartik to go. So let us chat more, read more, and take to the path of devotion service. Hare Krishna. Venkatrattam Prabhu. And today is our dear Venkatrattam Prabhu's birthday. Who is our backbone.